With the 10th anniversary event in full swing and bringing back players that haven't played the game in years, obviously a lot has changed for them. Heck, if you take like a 6-month break from World Warships and come back, there's probably like a new line or two. Some mechanics been slightly tweaked or changed. So I can't imagine, of course, sitting out for like 4 or 5 years, then coming back and trying to deal with, well, what we've got going on in today's World Warships. So with that in mind, in today's video, we are going to go over some of the secrets that Wargaming doesn't tell you or doesn't really advertise too much that can help some of you guys that are, trying to get back into the swing of the game. And we've got stuff in here for new players, old players, veteran players alike. A bunch of helpful information that a couple of you guys did ask if I would make a video like this, especially again with everything that's going on. So here it be. The video is divided up into chapters if you just want to get to something that maybe you're interested in, but all of this is good information one way or another, so I would encourage you to watch the whole thing, but again, chapters down below if you just want to get to certain parts. While you're down there, why don't you go ahead, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, these tips and tricks and secrets videos that we do put out from time to time here on the channel. And yes, my voice is almost back to full power. I don't sound like I've smoked any time in my life, right now at least, but we'll see what this afternoon holds. But anyway, let's get going into it. First off, one of the oldest tricks in the book, if you're starving for credits right now, the inventory. So the inventory is something that the game mentions like once when you're going through like, your first couple of weeks of the game, you're going through the access levels, you unlock access to the inventory. I think it's just explained it's a place where like your camo and stuff is stored. But you can actually go into the inventory and sell your unwanted or unused camos, cosmetics, old stock modules, like those modules you have to grind through when you're grinding up a ship line, like the Alpha, Beta, Charlie hull, and the stock guns, the stock rangefinder, the stock torpedoes. Did you know you can sell all of that stuff and get a pretty tidy bit of return on it, especially when we're talking about like higher tier ships? Like the tier 8 and the tier 9 modules will bring you back a significant chunk of change. So I would highly encourage you to go look into your inventory and just sell stuff that you're not using. And keep in mind too, since they rework the economy, camos and cosmetics have no economic bonuses attached to them. So unless you just really like the way a certain camo looks, sell it. Just get rid of it and get those sweet credits. As we all know, credits are the actual grind in World Warships and not really XP. You get more than enough XP to get to your your high tier ships, but the credits are the thing that you're going to be playing extra rounds in order to generate enough of them to actually buy that higher tier ship. So yeah, make sure you go through your inventory, clear it out. I didn't know this was a thing until I was like 3 or 4 years into playing the game, and I think I made like a solid 80 or 90 million credits from just selling my old modules and stuff. And then I made another mountain of credits after the economic rework, and I just sold off all my camos that I didn't want anymore because now all their economic bonuses are gone. So yeah, check that out. Empty out inventory from those old and unused modules and stuff. You can sell upgrades here too. I wouldn't really do that because upgrades are expensive, and if you do, obviously pay doubloons to demount them, or if Wargaming has shuffled some ships around and stuff, they've tossed upgrades back into your inventory, I would just keep them for a while because you can slap those on any ship, right? But like the old modules, the camos you don't want, definitely for sure get rid of them. All right, our second hidden secret is the training room. Training room, again, it gets mentioned like one time when you're going through the first stages of the game, and that's it. And this, I feel, is woefully underutilized by a large portion of the community. Of course, the more veteran players probably make use of this, but if you are a veteran player and you haven't, you definitely should. If you're a newer player, definitely get in the habit of visiting the training room often. They even kind of hid it in port a little while ago when they reworked the battle mode HUD. It's now hidden at the bottom where it just says training battle. It used to have its own little icon with like the other modes, and now it's just all the way at the bottom of the screen. So if you want to find it, go to your battle type, select training room. The training room is fantastic. It's free, and it doesn't cost you anything. You can take whatever ship you want into battle there. You will not spend a single credit. You will not spend a single signal flag or anything. It's completely free to use. And what's great is that any of the tech tree ships that have been added into the game fully, you can drop them in the training room. So let's say a new line gets released and you're wondering about their armor. What angle can I pin them from with my guns? What angles can I pin them from with my guns? So forth and so on. You can go in the training room, drop them in the training room, and just play around with them. You can have them be active and sailing around and returning fire, or you can have them be static, where you can just sail around them and just blast them from every angle and every range to your heart's content. And it's not only a great place to test out the opposing ships, it's a great place to test out your ships and its unique parameters. Different ships, they have different shell arcs, they have different shell velocities, and you can figure it out from what range and what angle and all this jazz is best for your ship. And every single map in the game can also be pulled up in the training room as well. I just use the ocean map because it's wide open. You use the armor resilience mode on that map, and all the ships are in a nice line, so you can play around with them like that. But you can go onto any map in game, and you can see, okay, how does this guy at the beginning of the match, how is he always getting to this island, to this position? Why does he go here? How can I get into this cap and this cap from the best ways? What's kind of going to be the way that the enemy team is going to be approaching this from? You can do all of that in the training room. It is a amazing resource, costs nothing, and it is so underutilized. I highly encourage you guys to check it out and play around with it. If for nothing else, you can set up some fun scenarios, like you can take on an entire team of tier 2 cruisers in your Schlieffen and get your butt beat by them because they're starting 3 fires on you every 5 seconds. But yeah, you can use it for fun stuff like that too. So use a training room, great source to test out your ships, the enemy ships, check out the maps in game. You can select different modes and such too when you're going through the map rosters, so definitely check it out, make use of it. It is completely free. Alright, kind of bring us into our third point too. The ship armor and stats in game are a lot more in depth than the game tells you. So if you go into port and you look at the ship's stats, like you pull down the drop down menu, you look at the armor, you look at the stats, you go, wow, that's a lot of numbers. Believe it or not, there's a hell of a lot more numbers behind those numbers. Like we're talking about probably triple the amount of stats that are just hidden from us. Why? Wargaming likes to keep the game looking simple, but it can be overwhelming when you get into this. So yeah, I kind of get why they do it, but there is some good information there that you definitely need to know. So let's start with the armor. Armor is simplified in game. You've got your bow, stern armor, your belt armor, your citadel armor. Sometimes you have an upper bow, icebreaker bow, upper belt, lower belt might be a little bit different, and the deck armor. You typically have stern, bow, and central. And that's about it. And you can rip those layers back, and it's like, okay, well, the bow armor's this, the citadel armor's that. That's it. But there's, believe it or not, a lot more armored compartments on most of these ships that the game just doesn't tell you about. Slava is a good example of this. So if you look at the Slava, it's the sniper, how can I forget this thing's name? The Kremlin. It's the sniper Kremlin, right? With way thinner armor. It's got that 25mm bow, so you might think, okay, if I've got a battleship that can overmatch 25mm of armor, I can just punch the Slav in the nose and citadel it. Which, that's most tier 10 battleships that can, they have the ability to overmatch 25mm of armor. But then you go to shoot him in the bow, and you just get pins and no citadels. You might be thinking, well, hold up a second. In game, in the port, it's got a 25mm bow and then the flat citadel bulkhead. I should be citadeling him. Actually, if you check out a third-party website like Game Models 3D, you'll discover that, yes, the Slava does have a 25mm bow, but behind that 25mm bow, there's this internal armored box that has a giant 430mm angled armored slope in front of the citadel that's above the water, which is a giant middle finger to your shells. You're not getting through that. I don't care what you use. You wouldn't know that unless you went to Game Models 3D to check it out. It also has a box behind the stern citadel too, so you're not getting through that either. Yeah. And it's not just a Slav. I'm just using it as an example because it's one of the better known ones. There's several other ships like this in the game, like the Florida, the Tier 7 American premium battleship. It has an invisible armored box over its stern citadel as well. So you can go stern in the Florida. You'll eat pin damage, but you will not get citadel through the stern like you will through the nose, because the Florida's nose doesn't have that for some reason. So yeah, there's a lot more to it than you might think. And if you got some weird stuff going on, the ship that you're shooting or your ship, definitely check out a website like Game Models 3D to get a better look at your ship's armor. On top of that, too, gun and shell ballistics, way more complicated than you might be led to believe. In game, you get the dispersion, you get the initial velocity that the shell has leaving the gun, you get the maximum damage, and of course the reload time. There are so many more parameters to your guns and shells beyond that. Sigma. We hear about Sigma all the time, on Wargaming streams, in the dev blogs, but it's never presented in port for some reason. Sigma is basically the chance your shells have to land toward the center point of where you aim. Very important thing when it comes to, your ships. A ship with a higher Sigma is going to have much better salvos than a ship with a lower Sigma. Never presented to us in port. There's air drag coefficients, the rate at which your shells will slow down as they fly throughout the air. Ships like the American battleships have pretty bad air drag. Ships like the Soviet battleships have pretty much non-existent air drag. That's one reason why ships like the Slava are so good at sniping, because their shells are traveling faster and they're not slowing down through the air, so you get to the target quicker, and they carry more of that velocity with them because they're not slowing down. Croup is a thing too, the rigidness of the shells, how hard the shell is. The higher the croup, the better it's going to penetrate the armor and such. So, yeah. Fuse time. Fuse time's a major thing too. The British battleships, they have a short fuse time. How short? If you look in port, you're not going to know. But if you check out a website like shiptool.com, you can figure out all that information there. And firing angles, again, something that's not really presented in game and port. You can figure that out there. You can mess with the range on your AP shells, see what their angle is going to be like at range, so you can get an idea of what your ship's shell arcs are and such, all on shiptool.com. So yeah, this is pretty important information that by just reading it, you'll have a better understanding of, what your ship is, how it's going to perform. So, really just going to this website and taking a peruse of the ships you play the most, you'll probably have a better understanding of your ship and perform a bit better because of it. So, it's, again, free website. Don't even need to make an account to use it. I use it all the time. I highly encourage you to check it out. Knowledge is power. Speaking of that, our fourth secret, the leaderboard. Anybody think Sealord leaderboard isn't that secret? I can hit tab and see it. Yes, you can. But did you know that if you hover over the enemy ships, you can see their stats? You can see their detection range. You can see their main battery gun range. You can see their consumables, what consumables they can have on their ship, and their effective ranges and runtimes too. This is super important. Now, you will not see the most accurate information on the enemy ships on the leaderboard, but you will see the best possible cases for those stats. Or I guess in the case of you being on the other side, worst case scenario. As in, this Seattle built into his radar, so he could have technically a 46-second radar. It'll tell you stuff in that format. Same with detection range, reload, range. It's all in the best case scenario for the enemy player. So it doesn't tell you exactly what they got, but you'll get a much better idea than simply not knowing what the ship's parameters are. This is fantastic information, especially if you are a destroyer player, because you need to know, okay, this guy's radar, what's its range, what's its runtime, how far do I need to stay away from this guy in order to stay out of radar range? If I get hit with radar, how long do I have until that radar shuts off? This is super important. And of course, too, things like detection range are important for cruisers, battleships. Every class in the game benefits from, just taking a little look at the enemy ship stats when they do log into, or when you do load into the match. This is actually a relatively new feature to the game. They used to not do this. You used to just have to, remember everything. So this makes it a lot easier on newer players. So definitely take advantage of this. Also, if you hit left mouse when you are looking at somebody's stats, it'll keep the stat screen on page and bring up a little bit more in-depth stats. So you can hold control and hover your mouse over the icons and such, and it'll give you a more detailed breakdown over their consumables and such too. So if you got a ship that you're not really too sure about and you want to know every single aspect about their ship, make sure you do that. Again, knowledge is power in this game. Like 80% of doing well in this game is knowing what's going on. It's information, it's knowledge. 10% is skill, and 10% is luck from there on out, in my opinion at least. So guys, those are 4 secrets that Wargaming doesn't really tell you about World of Warships. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What secrets have I missed? What would you add to this to help out players that are struggling right now? Let us know all that and more in the comments down below. While you're down there, why don't you go ahead and drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, especially if you made it this far into the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.